Hi friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on a really fun winter Christmassy scene card, and we're going to enhance it by using this really beautiful snowflake frame die from Simon Says Stamp. In the past, I've only ever thought to use this die like as a standalone thing, right? Like it was the feature of my card and I just put a sentiment in the middle and some of the extra snowflakes it comes with that are like loose. And that's the only way at the time my brain thought to use it. So I was looking through my stash and I haven't used it in a year or two at least. But I love it and it's beautiful. But I was like, well, I want to make a scene card. And then it occurred to me that combining the two is not only possible, but super friggin' cute. So, I started out by die cutting that for some blue, like watercolor pattern paper from My Favorite Things. It's a very subtle. Honestly, I probably could have just done it with the white, but I do like that it gives just like a very soft little hint of blue that ties in with the rest of the scene when it's done. I cut a second layer out of plain white cardstock and I'm just going to layer them because I really wanted those snowflakes to pop up off of the scene, and I knew that in general I was going to have a very like one layer scene card behind it. So this is the dimension that I'm bringing to the card. Again, you wouldn't have to do that, but I think for how simple and quick it was to layer up the two together, it's definitely worth it. So I used my frame in my stamp positioner to just make sure that everything was where I really wanted it to be. And I'm using this adorable Yeti from Stamping Bella. I'll have the names of everything down in the description for you, of course. But I stamped that a couple times. He's going to be in that bottom corner, and that way the snowflakes will kind of be above and next to him. And I really have to restock on my full stick Post-it notes. Every time I go to make a card, I'm like, oh my God, I still need those. But I made a regular Post-it work for this and just added some washi tape kind of rolled up underneath. And it worked, but it's not ideal. So I'm going to try really hard to remember when I'm done this voiceover to order my Post-its off of Amazon. So I also kind of just held my frame in place for a second to make sure that this moon I'm adding to the top right-hand corner is going to be in proper placement. This is one of the Tim Holtz moon masks. I absolutely love these things. This is the smallest one. We're going to use the full circle stencil first to stamp or to ink blend out the rest of our sky. And then later we'll go back with the crater stencil layer to actually make the moon itself. So I started out with tumbled glass so that there is a nice glow around the moon. Then I deepened that up with a little bit of broken china, brought in just a little bit more of that tumbled glass to make sure that there was a smooth-ish transition. Because these are distress inks and not oxides, it's going to take a little bit of work to get that blend, but I do love how it came out. And we're also going to add stars/snow to this, which is going to hide a lot of potential issues. So I started to go in with chip sapphire, but I really need to re-ink this. So in a second, I will also bring in some blueprint sketch because that is a newer mini for me and has way more ink in it. So also the chip sapphire had kind of a purpley undertone, and I definitely wanted this to be blue because of those BG markers we're going to bring in later on my Yeti. But once I started, I kind of just went with it, and you can see I'm not worrying about trying to get a super smooth blend from the get-go. Here's when I'm bringing in that blueprint sketch, and you can see how much more blue and vibrant that pops. And then to deepen that left-hand side, I brought in my black soot, and I'm trying to really keep that darkest on the edges. This definitely looks a little choppier on camera than it does in person. But again, once we add the snow/stars, it's definitely going to change up the whole look. So to do that, I grabbed my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, and I added just a tiny bit of water, and you can see I'm having a hard time getting it off of the brush. So I'm going to go back in and spray just a couple more drops of water. And now when I mix it up, you'll see that it's working perfectly. So don't be afraid to kind of play around until you get the consistency that you want. And I just took my time kind of tapping this all over to get kind of, technically it should be stars, because we don't have any going over the Yeti and the tree. And then in here in a second, I'm just cleaning up all the edges around my ink blending where my mask was not perfect. But this is where I'm going to realize that I forgot to cut out the center part where there's sky showing between the tree and the Yeti. So luckily I didn't destroy my mask when I took it off, and I'm just going to fussy cut that middle section out, and we're going to go back in with some blue and black just in that little area and kind of pounce and press the ink into place, because with this not being a full stick Post-it note or actual masking paper, it's not going to hold up if I do tiny circles. It's going to shift, it's going to curl. It's going to be a hot mess. So I kind of am just holding it in place and pressing my ink down. And again, not perfect, but super cute when it's done. And I really think it blends in enough that you can't really tell. So I brought in that blueprint sketch again, and now I'm going in with some of that black soot to deepen that up. And the Yeti and the tree are going to be so cute that it all just kind of evens itself out, honestly. So yeah, I just thought this card was so cute. It makes me so happy. To anybody who's here who may have just found me from Craft Roulette last night, I just want to say thank you so much for subscribing. I saw a ton of people subscribe overnight and last night as we were wrapping up. I had so much fun. I can't wait to see what everybody makes with their parameters. For anybody who's been following me and who didn't get to catch it, I will leave a link to my episode last night of Craft Roulette, and you can always catch the replay. But we had so much fun kind of taking 4 random parameters, randomly selected at least, and turning them into a card. And this one was the most happy I've ever been with a roulette card. So I think I really lucked out. The wheel was smiling upon me, but yeah, if you were new here from that, thank you so much for coming to hang out. For this snow, I really wanted to play up all of the blue reflecting from the sky. So I am going in with B14, B12, B01, and then some B00, and I think even 000. I'm definitely still leaving some pure white paper right on those highlight areas, but I really wanted there to be some deep blue shadows on the bottom of that snow. For my tree, because I knew I wanted to do a teal and white Yeti, I stuck with BGs for the tree as well. The BG90 family works really well for a pine tree color that still works well with other blue-green markers or tones in general. So I went in with BG99, 96, and 93 and just kind of took my time layering the different colors. I kind of worked at the top and then the bottom, and then I did it off camera, but once this was all shaded in, I went back in with the BG99 and re-enhanced some of that texture. I felt like some of those flicks had gotten kind of muted out by that 93 marker, just kind of blending everything together. So for a little boost of contrast, that extra pass over with the 99 really helped to bring that together for me. So for the horns, the face, the hands, and the feet, this is when I'm going to bring in that BG23. And I'm just kind of creating a nice outline anywhere where shadow would naturally occur. So on the back of the face, under his little mouth, under the fur on his hands and his feet, and on the back of that horn. Then I'm going to blend that out with BG11. And my lightest shade is going to be BG10. Everybody, I feel like, has their own way of coloring Yetis, but I love a teal and white Yeti. Like I don't know. I'm sure it's the least obviously I've never seen a real Yeti, so I can't tell you it's realistic, but I just think they're so cute. So once I blended out everything with that BG10, for the fur, I went with a cool gray to kind of tie in with all of these blues that we have going on in our sky. So I started out with C5 because I knew I wanted some deeper shadows on the back side of our Yeti. That moon would definitely be really highlighting the front of him, and so the back would be darker, just in contrast. So I used it very sparingly, but I did go in and lay down some shadows on the back of his arm, behind his horn, a little color through those front swoopy bangs, and then under his belly a little bit. And then kind of emphasizing the artist drawn lines, using them to kind of dictate that belly fur, where that's going to be kind of branching up towards his face a little bit. Then I blended that out with my C3, definitely being a little more liberal with this color. Still being very sure that at the end I have enough white paper showing that he reads as having white fur and not gray fur. Sometimes I avoid using this C5 because I can get a little carried away, and then it definitely turns into a gray item, whatever I'm coloring. But there's so much space on this guy, and his back especially is pretty plain and simple. So I knew that I was going to have plenty of space to leave that white space, even using that C5 marker. And if he was gray, honestly, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either. So now I'm going in with C2 to blend that out. And then I reinforced the black of his eye and went in with a white gel pen just to clean up a spot I had hit on his tooth and give him a little eye highlight. Now I'm holding my snowflake frame back into place for just a second to make sure that my sentiment is lined up nicely. And then I use the grids on my Misty door to make sure that my sentiment is pretty straight. I'm just stamping this in black. I thought because of where it was in the sky, it was dark enough there / light enough. Yeah, that way. It was light enough there that the black ink would still pop. I'm adding some liquid glue to the front of my snowflake frame, and I'm going to go in with the Sparkle All the Way plate. They're just like silver sequins from This Calls for Confetti. They're so beautiful. They're very simple, but I think they just bring an extra little touch of sparkle and whimsy to this frame that I just really liked. It's not super distracting, but with the whole scene being inked and not having any kind of shine, I just thought it was a fun way to bring in that last little element. So now I'm on the back of the frame, and I'm adding just little touches of glue wherever I can to those snowflakes and right around the edge, and I will get that lined up. Then all this would need is to be popped onto a A2 sized card base, and it would be ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed watching this scene card come together. I feel like the die cut frame really does add something to it. Just kind of bumps it up and makes it feel a little more special. So if you have any frame dies in your stash that you haven't used in a while, go sort through them and see how you might be able to incorporate them into a scene. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. I hope that you guys had an amazing holiday week. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you back here next week. And until then, guys, happy crafting.